Hello, everybody. This is Teen Title Talk with Erin.
And Courtney.
This is the podcast
where two librarians discuss two YA books every 2 weeks.
Today we'll be talking about The Seventh Raven by David Elliott.
And Before the Ever After by Jacqueline Woodson.
Before we do that, we do need to dip into the jar of teen ink. So let's start with, today is April Fool's Day. I don't know if you got any pranks played on you this morning.
Actually, I totally fell for an email prank.
Oh, really?
I felt like a big idiot.
I love it. Can you tell us what it was, or is it off?
Oh, it's if I saying it out loud makes me sound even more foolish. Okay. However, it is April Fool's Day, so I guess it's all in good fun.
Right.
So I got an email from a pottery painting store called You're Fired.
Oh, yeah.
Which has a couple of little locations, whatever. Yes. I've been there a few times, and it's fun. And they had this whole thing about what their pottery is made out of and how it's the perfect material to go up in space, and that they had won some kind of drawing for a certain number of their people, their artists,
yes,
whatever, to send some art up to space somehow.
Wow.
And it was we've done a random drawing and these 5 people are on the list. It was my name was in the list. And I was wait, is this cannot be real. Is this real? And I sent my sister an email and I was please tell me if you think this is legit, because and she sent me one back and be oh my God, it really is. That's really your name. And I was I know. I'm gonna have pottery in space. And then when you click the link, it's did we get you? And I was oh my God, I hate April Fool's Day.
Oh, I love it. That's so good. Trying to think of
So I got.
You got. So as a teen, did you have any? Now let's switch gears, because I was thinking back, and I don't remember. I'm sure I did play an April Fool's joke, but I don't remember a single one.
I can't remember a single one. I love to scare people. Yeah. I love to hop out of from behind little dark corners, pop out of doors. Love a good scare, but it doesn't have to be on April 1st.
Yeah, maybe that's it, because I remember pranking people regularly, but not on April Fool's Day. Maybe it's too predictable.
Obviously not for me. I just honestly don't even think about April Fool's Day. It's not even on my radar.
It's not, except for my son was planning. So it was on my radar because of that. There were multiple ideas he had to prank Jason with. He was gonna put fire ants in his bed. There was.
Ooh, that was a mean one.
Oh no, they were all mean ones until we I talked him down to a normal one. It was put a needle on his pillow.
Whoa.
Rig a bucket of fruit to dump on his head. Somehow he'd trip the trigger and it would fall down. And then water was one option also. And then I finally was you can't hurt Dada. You can just play a funny trick. And he's let's put soy sauce in his mask. So that's what we did. We put soy sauce in his mask.
Wow. Was he hey, why does my mask smell so good?
No, between us, I told him in advance. Because he has multiple masks, and I was you're getting soy sauce in your mask. So pick one that he's going to ask you which one you're wearing the next day. Pick one that you don't want ruined. And so he did. He was Dada, why don't you go outside? I think I left my glasses on the ground. I can't find them. Can you go look for them? So Jason was okay, I'll go look. And he's wandering around the yard. And Tucker gets the mask that he said he was going to wear, and we loaded it up with soy sauce. and then put it
Wow.
back. We put it back in its spot. And then he was like, Dad, I guess they weren't here all along. And then later the next day, he found his mask filled with soy sauce.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey, you know what? I give that an A+ for effort
I
on
think
everyone's part.
it was pretty good. But yeah, I can't remember one as a teen that I did. But how about, okay, so we
No.
were talking about, like, you know how we're wrapping up the show for us, and Yahira's gonna be taking over teen services, and she will be thinking for the fall, probably like mixing the podcast up a little bit. She's thinking of possibly having some teens on. It would be volunteer hours,
Ooh,
and it would be some fun content.
cool.
So that'd be cool.
Yep.
But we were talking about territory we haven't really covered, because we've talked a lot about teen angst, and we didn't talk about, you were talking about beauty, like regimens, beauty regimens or makeup. Did you ever wear any? Was that a thing in your life?
I have I always kind of wanted it to be a thing in my life, but I don't know, like never fully was able to adopt the lifestyle. if that makes sense. Like I think I I find it really beautiful on other people, like when they can do like really good, like the like winged
My God,
eyeliner.
no. And I'm not even gonna try that. I probably look like Alice Cooper.
Oh, I don't like my self-care routine is washing my face with a bar of soap in the shower and then putting on some lotion in the morning. And that is it. I don't wear anything else. And I feel like I'm getting to the age where I'm like, I kind of feel like maybe I should start putting something on my
Nah, you don't need
face
anything, but
because
you are
I'm looking aged. But
naturally
like when I
beautiful.
was, oh, thank you. But when I was a teenager, I mean, those are hard times.
I know.
Those are times when you're maybe a little greasier, a little
Yeah.
pimplier.
True,
You're
true.
you're like just coming into your own. I had braces.
Uh,
So I had like perpetual, like my lips were always chapped, I think, because my like mouth was open more often. And so
why? Just breathing?
just
Like, oh,
breathing,
breathing?
just gotta breathe through my like metal, whatever. I think it's like, I don't know, maybe I left my mouth open more when I slept or something. I don't
Oh,
know, but
probably because of yeah, all the face, the
and I
metal.
had like elastics in there and everything. So I don't know. There was like, I had some times when I probably didn't look so great. And I would see other people who had seemed to get on board the makeup train without any trouble whatsoever.
Oh, interesting.
And they would like touch it up in the bathroom, in between classes
Okay.
or whatever. And I just like somehow never got the memo. I think in 8th grade, I tried wearing makeup
Okay.
and my mom, like sneaking my mom's makeup. And she was like, I see what you're doing. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not wearing anything. And she was like, you are, and it looks crazy. You can't wear it. And I was like, fine. And so like then I didn't because
That was that.
I was so boring and I just like did what my mom told me to do. And
Oh,
so then I went to high school and I
yeah.
still just like did my whatever and like I had frizzy hair parted in the middle and wore
Love it.
unfortunate outfits.
Yes.
And then my junior year, I got my school pictures and my mom was like, hey, I think it might be time to start wearing makeup because it was
Did
such
she
a bad
send it in for
picture.
retakes? It's like, oh God.
I I don't remember, but like I had my hair like so tightly pulled back
Okay.
and like my little brace face and my like greasy zitty forehead and I was just like just it wasn't a good picture.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's funny.
But
Oh, I love it.
I feel like you have such naturally beautiful hair.
No. Okay, no, don't, let's not get ahead of ourselves here, because I did not know how to do my hair until, this is the thing about me. It's like nothing has ever happened simultaneously to make the whole thing work. So it's like, and I think the hair I did not figure out how to do until more recently. I just would comb my hair and it would turn into a fuzz head. Like my head was literally a ball of fuzz. And then I realized much later that you're really not supposed to like brush my hair like mine. That looks weird, and also it's not good for the curliness. So I learned how to do that. But that was literally like, ballpark it, like 7 years ago, maybe 8, when I really paid attention to that. But in 9th grade, I feel like I did, like I think mom like brought me and we looked, like wanted to look at makeup. And I remember, I think it was my friend Geneva and I, and we were like at the mall or something. And she let us get some blush and like mascara. And it was kind of an ordeal when we got home. Like my dad was like, I don't know, that doesn't, like, you don't need that, blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of like a futile thing. But I think that that's like, I might have used that, but then I went through a phase where I was like, no, I'm not into that. Like I wanted to be subversive. So I was wearing pajamas to school basically, and not wearing makeup. But that was kind of my thing. It was, I wanted to be a little edgier.
Wow, I wish I'd been so intentional. Like I wasn't trying to be edgy. I think I was like lazy.
That, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I think there's also, like, I had a thing about authenticity, which I still do, but I have no problem putting on some blush and mascara.
Oh, did you feel like it was like, did you feel like it was like a mask? Like if you
yeah,
wore
but I know like there's debates about that,
out?
and you know, people have all sorts of different feelings about makeup, and that's
No, but I think when you're like 15, you see the world a lot more black and white than like as you get older.
Right. That's
so
true.
I think that's really natural. I remember having like thoughts about people who wore white, who I knew were like having sex with their boyfriends. And
you're like, hypocrite.
Yes, and now I'm like, what was my problem?
Oh my God. No, there's so much more nuance around like every conversation, right? So yeah, for me it was like, I'm not gonna be that fake person. This is me, blah blah blah, and that's fine. Like that's totally cool too if you want to be like that. But if you want to wear makeup, that's totally cool too. You know, there's so much nuance. But yeah, no, I never figured out a beauty regimen. Didn't figure out the hair till just recently. And yeah, who knows? I think the journey, just a lifetime journey.
Lifelong journey, maybe.
So funny.
I feel though I'm oh gosh, what did I just do? My 30s have been better than my teens, certainly.
In terms of self-care? Or just like makeup? Just or you're thinking
in general what I look like?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Like
taking pride in your appearance kind of thing?
Maybe, well, no. I mean, like, I still feel like I dress exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just that maybe I just have more confidence now, so I don't care as much.
I think so too,
about what other people think.
Yes. Yeah. I think that might be for me too, because it's like I don't think I'm putting up any effort and I feel quite comfortable. And I feel okay with that. I think that's a good thing.
All right. I think that's fine.
Let's move along to books. You read Before the Ever After. Tell me about it.
All right. Before the Ever After is a novel in verse by Jacqueline Woodson about a family that has been touched by CTE, which I didn't know really what that was before this book, but that stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Okay.
Which is a progressive brain disease caused by repeated traumatic brain injuries.
Gotcha.
So in this case, the book is told from young ZJ's perspective. He's a middle school kid with a great supportive group of friends and family. He loves to sing and write music, and his dad just happens to be a famous football player who is like everyone's hero in town and in the world. And you get all these like great images of ZJ on his dad's shoulders, you know, like after some big, huge stadium game, and all the fans are cheering for him and everything. So there's like really moments of sort of like feeling really high, and then that is quickly sort of juxtaposed with his current situation, which is that after years of playing professional football, ZJ's dad, who is also named ZJ, but he goes by Zachariah, forgets things, gets angry, he can be really confused. Sometimes he doesn't even remember who ZJ is, and sometimes he stays in bed all day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, from playing football.
Okay.
But ZJ never forgets who he is, and thanks to generous flashbacks, we understand that ZJ's music is more than just an escape. It's also a way to connect his past, his dad, and his future, and because it's told in verse, a lot of it you can imagine as like ZJ's lyrics to his songs.
Oh,
so
cool.
It's really cool.
Okay, that sounds neat. And I love Jacqueline Woodson, and I did not realize you read a novel in verse, which I also did. So that's cool.
Oh, look at that.
Look at us. So what did you like about it?
I think this is a phenomenal book, and it's obvious that like everyone else agrees. It got starred reviews in Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, Horn Books, School Library Journal. It won the Coretta Scott King Award and won the NAACP Image Award. Okay. So like, it's a great book.
Nice.
But I think what I like so much about it is the way that she portrays ZJ's really tight-knit group of friends.
Okay.
So like really the main character is ZJ. I mean, it's really about his like how he's getting through this really hard time. It's from his perspective of like watching his dad go from like the greatest of the greats to like someone he doesn't even recognize.
Ugh.
And it's really, really hard. ZJ's only like 12 years old, so it's really tough, especially because they used to basically be best friends. And so I love ZJ's friends because I think even though they're all really different, they all bring something to the friendship. They all feel like well-rounded characters.
Gotcha.
Even though they're kind of just there for support. And I think we often in middle grade novels get a lot of examples of like what not to do. Like we see like bullies and mean girls and lying and, you know, like a little bit more didactic. And I think this is like a really shining example of something that kids will be able to see themselves in as good friends, something to aspire to be.
Okay.
Which is, you know, like a good friend, a good listener, someone who just like is there when someone needs you. It felt really real because it felt, I mean, like, it's not like they're without their discomforts because, you know, for kids, that's a really uncomfortable thing to like go to your friend's parents' house and your dad starts like, the dad starts yelling at all of them for no reason. And they're like,
that's not good. Yeah.
Why is your dad being this way?
Yeah.
He used to be so cool and fun. Like, what's going on?
Right. Gotcha.
And so it's not portrayed like unrealistically, but like they stick by him anyway. And I think it's really great.
Interesting. All right. Anything you disliked? I mean, it's a Jacqueline Woodson book, so I feel like
I really loved it all.
They're just all really.
I read the ebook version. I bought it on Amazon, and I don't regret the purchase. I thought it was great. I would recommend to others, and I can't think of anything I didn't like.
Okay. Anything special about it? makes it stand out
I
against
think
the crowd?
I think kind of part of what makes it a standout is partly the topic. I don't think it gets a lot of
Yeah, that's true.
attention as far, especially in like YA or middle grade novels. Like that's something you hear on the news. It sounds really separate, and you think to yourself like, oh, I don't know if I'd let my kid play football, but like that's about as far as I got thinking about the repercussions of this kind of thing.
Right.
It's easy to not think about professional athletes as like actual people.
Gotcha.
And I think this really humanizes that whole other side of the TV screen, I guess.
Okay.
And I kind of think that's what kind of makes it really special, is like not just this great character, not just these other great characters, but also like the topic itself, which is like, it feels like it could really be used well in a classroom.
Okay, gotcha. Like they could have a discussion about it. Plus it's, like bite size,
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Well, that sounds neat.
Yeah, I recommend it's a quickie for
Nice.
grown-ups.
Good.
Yeah. So tell me about your novel in verse. I'm
Okay,
just
so the
grabbing
seventh,
a jelly bean
yeah.
and it's
The
louder.
seventh Raven is like David Elliott's, is it his third novel in verse? I want to say it's his third because he had Bull and then Voices, which I loved. And then The Seventh Raven. I think it might be his last novel in verse for a while. At least he said that recently. So it is this great novel in verse. It's based on the Seven Ravens Grimm fairy tale. And basically what happens, if you don't know the tale, is, and I'm just basing this off of the first novel. I didn't go back to the Grimm version except for to see that it was, very much the same idea. But basically what happens, there's these parents, they have 7 boys. And boys, are kind of loud and rough and tumble. They wish for a girl. When they finally have a new child, it is a girl, only guess what? She's like dies right away, and they're like have to get her the water for the baptism to make her journey. But the boys, because they can't handle themselves well, take forever to get the water. And the one Robin, who's like this more of a feminine boy who the father like judges based on this, drops the bucket and it goes wandering off down the river. And so he is angry and he wishes that they just become like he makes this like wish / curse that they become ravens, and they do. They turn into the ravens and they disappear.
Wow.
This wish brings the girl to life, and she lives as an only child with her parents for a while, but she kind of has this feeling that there's others. And then one day she finds like these socks buried away, 7 pairs of socks. She knows that these sort of visions she's been having and these socks relate to each other, and she's going to go find her brother. So she starts out on this journey and she finds them, and she is able to release them from this like mountain. It's like a tower. You could think of it as like this mountain tower, but she has to like sacrifice a finger. Like her finger is the key. So she opens it that way, but her finger is gone. That transforms them back, except for Robin is like half raven, half human. It ends with them all returning, and they're all earthbound except for Robin, who may take to the skies. So that's the story, except it's written in verse. It has these lovely like illustrations here and there. Very quick read, and it's very interesting.
So while you were talking about that, I was just Googling the 7 Ravens because I'm not familiar with the story.
Yes.
And there's this like piece of art. I don't know if you can see it on my computer. Is it too bright?
I'm coming. Oh yeah.
And
it's her with the key. Is she putting her finger in?
With her finger key.
Yes. So that, So
Oh my God.
Through to the story, it seems, now that you found that out. And I didn't know that Grimm fairy tale, to be honest. So now I know something new.
Yeah. Oh, I clicked on something that is now became like a cool virus. I just somehow
Or
it's to
not good.
download. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so what did you like about it?
All right, okay. I now read mostly in the car. I know I've mentioned this before, waiting, not driving around, in the car line, waiting to pick up my son because the car line is forever long because of COVID. And so you sit there for quite a while and you can read. And so I read my books there. And this one, I have to say, I was enjoying so much the language that I was reading it aloud in my car. I'm just sitting there reading aloud by myself in the car.
That's awesome.
It's beautifully written. I loved voices, just it's just beautifully written as well. This one I think is equally well written, and I'd love to just share just a little bit because it's nice to hear it. And I think reading it out loud is different than reading it in your head, and it's so beautiful. So this is just a quick page taken from like the middle one. Is she going on her journey here? I think this is the very beginning of her journey, and it just felt exciting because she was on the move. So, and the road is a villain, and the road is a friend, and the road is a story, no beginning, no end. And the road is a question, and the road is an answer, and the road will transform you, a sly necromancer. And the road is a melody, and the road is a howl, and the road is a paradox, a grin, and a scowl. And the road will not tell where it's been, where it leads. And the road is live, it sings and it bleeds. Who takes to the road can never return, for the road is a fire, all pilgrims will burn.
Whoa.
Isn't it good?
Oh, wow.
I just love it. So that's the kind of thing I'm just sitting there in my car reading aloud to myself.
Well, that's obvious. You have to read that out loud.
Yeah. Loved it.
Actually, hey, like good for us reading novels in verse because it's also the beginning of National Poetry Month.
Oh, good point. I'm sorry, I'm looking at another page. Do you want to hear a little more?
Yes.
All right.
Read more.
Okay. She enters a desert. The hot wind is blowing, the ember sky glowing, the hungry sand flowing. Like rivers with banks, neither constant nor firm, the serpents are singing, the scorpions stinging, the vultures are winging, the insect and worm, torment and hector, mirages and specters, deceive and confuse, but she perseveres, through danger, through tears, despite her young years. She has refused to surrender her quest. She longs to know what the future might bring, and puts all her hope in the all-knowing King. I don't know. It's just so good. It feels good to say aloud.
So fun.
So, yeah.
Can we just like have a club where we do like recitations?
That would be so fun. The Dead Poets Society, except, well, David's quite alive, so I won't bring that, but.
Yeah, that's true, but we can just like have poetry club where we just like bring us some poem to read.
That will have time now that when we won't have our podcast anymore.
It's true.
Thursday night's poetry night.
Gotta get my beret.
So yeah, very good.
Wow. Okay. So I don't even know why we asked this question, but was there anything you didn't like about it?
But I can choose one thing, and it's not even a dislike. It was like not fair because I'm comparing it to Voices. And Voices was his previous novel in verse about Joan of Arc, and it had these beautiful, like they played with the words more in terms of design. I really enjoyed that. It felt playful and interesting to me, and also it had this like deeper meaning. I don't know if they felt that it was too much, but they pulled back on, or just that they wanted to make this one very distinctive in its own way. So they have illustrations instead, less visuals with the words. And I'm not knocking it down points because of that. I really liked the playfulness of the words in the other one better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I disliked this. It's just that I was excited. If I had to compare one with the previous one, I'd say there was something a little bit more unique in the design and the layout of the words that I didn't feel like that kind of fieriness with this one.
Mm,
Not
yeah.
in the sound, literally in how it looks on the page.
Well, I do think that's a fair critique though, because I mean it is all part of the thing, this like visual and
Right, but it's a totally different story, and I know they want it to stand on its own 2 feet, and it's not even from the same realm. This is Grimm's fairy tales versus this true story, right? So it has to feel really different. But I think also if you've read a couple of David's books, maybe you come at it with that like if I had read Voices, would I come at it with that expectation to see that kind of same imagery, and I didn't get it, but I mean it's still beautiful. It's a beautiful book. So
mm-hmm. Okay, so what struck you as something particularly special?
same thing you were talking about is that it's small, it's a small quick read, and it's totally digestible, and it's a modern twist, although it sounds like it's very close to um what you were just looking at, the Grimm's fairy tale, but it has this sense of examining toxic masculinity and gender
Mm.
expression. And you can maybe make a leap from reading this story in its totally quick and digestible way to having a conversation in a classroom. So I think that's a great thing.
That is a great thing. That sounds awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And that's adding that to the list of David Elliott books that I need to read but haven't
I know,
read
it's
yet.
so good. I love them.
Um,
So what's
but
up?
let's talk about book.
Yeah, like do you have fun, exciting things from the book world? I feel like this has been a really crazy couple weeks, so I have like several small things that I can talk.
So Shadow and Bone
Yes, I saw that. Okay, I didn't have that
is
on my list.
coming to Netflix on April 23rd. The full trailer just dropped. It looks so good.
Cool.
And I have not read it, so I just checked it out of the library today. It was on the shelf, so
Yes, I haven't read it.
sorry
I know.
to everyone.
We're gonna be yelled at. Lee Bardugo. I mean, she's super famous and amazing, and for good reason, right? So I'm sure the book is fabulous.
Yes, I'm sure it is, and I can't wait to read it. It is waiting for me. And the book If These Wings Could Fly by Kyrie McCauley just won the William C. Morris Award for debut novel.
Nice.
It sounds really good. Actually, also birdish, since we're talking about birds.
Okay.
I am curious if any of our listeners have picked that one up or read it. Because it came out last year. But domestic violence is like the central theme of it, but it seems like it has some sort of mythical qualities having to do with like crows and
I can
her
think
dad's violence.
Yeah, that's all I can think of now for crows is the crowing from Schitt's Creek, which is probably not a good.
Okay, well, that is also amazing. But this gets like 5 stars on Goodreads, so I'm adding it to my to be read, and so I feel like other people should read it too.
Okay, sounds good. And that was not on my radar, so I'm glad you mentioned this. Beverly Cleary passed away. So that
I was going to add that to my list, but then I saw you had it on your list.
you saw me typing it in as you were typing stuff in. Oh,
yes. Well, I noticed that we were both furiously typing.
Yes, and
she was
very influential. She had an amazing body of work. She was 104 years old. I mean, damn, good job.
Good job, Beverly. Could you ask for anything more amazing? No.
That's amazing.
No.
That's goal. Setting goals. I if only had the capacity to do that kind of thing.
I've been reading a lot of Beverly Cleary lately because of Julia, and so we've been reading a lot of like Ramona books because Ramona's about the same age.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, like I didn't really think much about it except for the fact that they were kind of funny stories and I thought that they were funny.
Yes.
But now I can really appreciate too that she's really writing, like, she's not just like writing to children or writing to grown-ups. She's
No.
just like writing, she just understands
Yes.
that children are human
Exactly.
and they appreciate human stories.
Exactly.
And so we read Ramona and her father, and just like the way she portrays all the characters, and like the dad's going through a hard time. He's lost his job. He's picked up smoking again because he's like super stressed out. Ramona's worried about him smoking so much, so she's trying to get him to quit. And like it like sounds kind of like dire, but because she's got this such a good family sort of base and support, you understand that like there's no real peril. It's just sort of like interpersonal drama.
Exactly.
And so it's just such this like wholesome, good, but very human, and like you can see this just being like real life. And I'm like, wow, Beverly. It's like it feels effortless.
It probably, I don't know if it was effortless, but it seemed effortless, which is amazing. That's great. Jason Reynolds, he's going to be embarking on his second tour as National Ambassador of Children's Literature. So that's great. I don't know if you know Julie Berry. She wrote so many things, but the one that I probably freaked out the most about was The Lovely War. Do you remember me freaking out about how amazing it was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Julie Berry. She has a new bookshop. She is now a bookstore owner. It's called The Author's Note, and it's in her hometown of Medina, New York. So this is like a big, fun homecoming thing for her. And I think that's awesome.
Where she's from?
Yeah.
We should go.
I know. We should go. We should go.
Sounds great.
Other fun stuff I saw was the Read Woke founder, Cicely Lewis, is partnering up with Learner Books to create a Read Woke line of books. And their aim is to create a line of books that provides librarians and educators with tools to help teens engage in thoughtful conversations about gun violence, immigration, other timely subjects. I thought it sounded very interesting. I think that I've seen an article by her in School Library Journal. And last but not least, Gary Paulsen, you know, the author of Hatchet. He has
Do I ever?
He has a new memoir out, and it's called Gone to the Woods, and it's about his traumatic childhood and his real life survival skills that very likely impacted his later on survivalist writing. So I'm just about to dive into that one, and I'm very excited.
Is that considered like a YA memoir, or is it like an adult memoir?
I bet it's considered a YA memoir. It is coming, it's in the YA section, and it has been in YA journals, and it's reflecting on his childhood, so it seems to fit the age group. Even though
that's cool. I had just had a patron yesterday who had a 10-year-old who was reading like way above grade level, and they were looking for like stories of survival, but so I recommended Hatchet, but
good, yeah.
This is another interesting one. I'd like to read it to see like how much, like if it's like scary, or like would I recommend to a 10-year-old, or would I recommend it to a 15-year-old?
Exactly. And I can't give you the age group because I didn't look, but it is in teen, and we have that as 12 plus, but I don't know how old he is. I wish I had my bag right next to me and I just pull it out.
No, that's right. That's right.
But you know, I'm sure that's easily accessible. So take a look. I'm definitely excited about it. I think, I mean, he's had a lifetime of work, and I think this is exciting that he's doing this.
Yeah.
So
thanks, Gary.
Oh, it's scary. It'll be hopeful. I'm sure. It's got survivorship in it. It's going to be great. So that's a wrap on today's podcast. You can listen to our podcast anywhere that you find your podcasts, and wherever you are listening. Thanks so much for joining us. You can always email us about any of the things we brought up today, or other stuff, other books, favorite books you've read recently, at teentitletalk@gmail.com.
Thank you for joining us for Teen Title Talk. This podcast is brought to you by the Derry Public Library and Derry-CAM, Derry Community Access Media, empowering independent voices. Wherever you are listening, if you enjoyed it, please be sure to rate and review this podcast. Bye.
Bye.